All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we all know, version 2.2 is here. I've got the newest unit ready to go. She is a little bit fun. She's pretty good to play. She's pretty fun to play. And something else has come alongside Whimpering Wastes 2.2, and those are changes to Whimpering Wastes. It is fair to say that Kuro Games went a little bit overboard in their first reset. I do believe that whoever was responsible for the latest reset that happened to Whimpering Wastes, they might have actually lost their job, because Kuro posted a new job application for like somebody in charge of like designing the endgame, and boy oh boy, whatever they did in this first reset was absolutely ridiculously completely a mistake. With the things they changed, like tokens, with the things they changed when it comes to like mobs and environmental reports, they made the infinite torrent stage, specifically like the last one, so ridiculously hard that a lot of players were just not able to do it. And thankfully, when it came to our most recent set of updates, specifically in our patch notes, they optimized the event page for Whimpering Wastes when the event is still locked, which is neat. They adjusted the environment report effects in the current iteration of respawning water torrents, infinite torrents, so basically the last stage. They changed the environment effect. And then they have adjusted the bonuses granted by the tokens, the Revelry that unveils mysteries, which is like the bear that gives you extra damage if you attack in the air, and then the blood pack that corrupts the core, which is the token that, you know, is focused on liberation damage. And so those are the only things that they're showing in here. However, I think that there actually are some more updates that we'll see only when we start actually diving into the combat. And so let's go ahead and let's break down what those big updates are by first taking a look at the tokens. So first things first, none of these tokens have actually been updated except for these two. The Spectral Frazzle one is staying as, like, honestly, I still think that this should just be apply Spectral Frazzle to every single enemy and make their minimum stacks 1, just so that Phoebe is a lot better to use, and then maybe grant, like, some damage bonus on top of it for how many stacks of Spectral Frazzle each enemy has. I still don't know why this is, like, in the current state that it is, because boy, oh boy, it just doesn't feel very good. Second, we've got the Blood Pack that corrupts the core. This one has been changed to increase the Resonance Liberation damage dealt by the active Resonator by 120% for 20 seconds after every 10 instances of damage dealt by Resonators in the team. You might be thinking, wait, there was no updates actually made to this. But the keyword that I'm going to show you over here is for 20 seconds, because this token used to only increase the damage dealt by the Liberation by 1 tick. By literally just 1 singular tick. If you had a character like Changli who clearly deals a lot of electro damage, you would end up, you know, if you could buff this ability, it'd be awesome, right? You would do a ton to nuke, but you would have to like time it and then know when your 10 instances of damage are there. And then once you nuke that one time, the buff is gone, and you got to do 10 more instances of damage. It would also be when maybe you're using a move like Law of Rains, which we all know, right, is his special hypercube that he throws out, which is dealt as Resonance Liberation damage. You would essentially use that 120% on one of these ticks of damage. Literally 120% on like a 95.73%. And as you can tell, that's pretty bad. That's a pretty low damage increase across your rotation. You aren't really able to reliably time it at all, knowing that it's based off of dealing 10 instances of damage, and it was just awful. It was pretty much just unusable. It was likely the worst token that we had in the game. The update that they made to just go ahead and make it so that it lasts for 20 seconds and will just apply unilaterally to all your Resonance Liberation damage has now made this extremely, extremely good on characters like Changli, and of course characters like Calcharo and anybody else who's dealing Resonance Liberation damage. They cooked with this one, and it is a rapid, absurd improvement compared to the prior one. Next up, we're gonna have the bear. And boy, oh boy, this thing on release was one of the biggest clown show tokens I've ever seen. When Resonators are in midair, their damage dealt is amplified by 55% for 15 seconds when Resonators are in midair. This 55% used to read 30. It used to literally read 30%. And they buffed it from 30 to 55, a 25% increase. The reason why it was so bad before is because this purple token would just amplify all your damage by 25% with no conditions on top of it. And then this one was 30 with a condition. So the improvement was like ridiculously small over a purple token. But now they kind of just took this 25 and then added it onto the old one. And so now we're at 55. And boy, oh boy, if your character can be in the air like Camellia or a Changli or, of course, a Brant, you're going to get a lot of mileage out of this one. It's a huge, ridiculously huge buff. And the end result is that Whimpering Wastes should be a lot simpler, a lot easier. One thing that we are missing, though, is, of course, our critical rate tokens. And we all know that critical rate is really important in WhiWa for one reason. And that's going to be the Infinite Torrents damage report, which they have adjusted. It used to read, before the first reset, all damage taken by enemies is increased by 50%. Now, it reads crit damage taken by enemies is increased by 60%. And previously, it used to read only 50%. I'm still in the boat that this isn't a very good environmental report at all because it makes the disparity between critting and not critting really big, really wide. And so having a high crit rate is super important for the game mode because, well, in the current state that it's in, if you crit, you will literally deal 60% additional true damage on your attack while also getting your critical damage bonus as well. And so you'll end up in a situation where your crits will deal maybe like 4 to 5 times as much damage as a non-crit. And so not doing a crit is like one of the biggest griefs you can do across your clear because you can crit some of the enemies with a big nuke attack and then not crit the others. And so you'll just have like one enemy remaining anyways. And so your clear is still kind of like borked if you don't end up with a super high crit rate. And so I just would love if this was changed back to all enemies just take more damage. I don't like this reliance on crit, especially when we don't have any tokens, right? We don't have any tokens that buff crit or give you more crit rate. Just having a token over here that gave you like 20 to 30% crit or something like that would make this environment report a lot more palatable and a lot more useful. And so in its current state, I do think this is still a miss, but of course, we're going to have to give Whimpering Wastes a try with those new tokens to see what this is all about and just, you know, how hard this actually is. I'm going to try using Jiyan because I do believe when Jiyan uses his intro skill, pops up in the air, and then, you know, throws down his spear, I'm assuming that is going to activate this buff. And so we're just going to try this on both sides, see how it does, and then maybe we'll find out we were just griefing. So that's going to be on the docket for today. We'll just give you a quick glimpse of all my characters before we hop in. Our Brant is looking very good. Very strong. Don't mind his attack because he's not in combat yet, so he won't have his forte. He's looking very good. We got the Shorekeeper over here also looking good. And we got our Changli over here. Okay, what the fuck is going on with her? And what in God's name is this? All right. Yeah, okay. She's looking a little bit questionable. Why is she... Yeah, okay. I guess she's fine at 68% crit because we have so much crit damage. And then we have our Jiyan over here also cooking as well. And then we got Verena looking pretty good too. And of course, Mortifi over here, he's looking good as well. We're going to be focusing on Changli as our main sort of like nuker here. She does work out pretty well in this circumstance, right? All right, nice. I already feel like we're doing way more damage. Oh, I already feel like we're doing way more damage for sure. Oh, no. Okay, all right. The enemy's kind of like ungrouped. Over there. That's really unfortunate. Though. Hopefully, this will end up being okay. I do think this is not good. Okay, honestly, it kind of like works out for us. We're actually doing pretty okay. Unfortunately, we did have a bit of a delay on our spawn over here. Okay. Get a big nuke off with Changli. think we're just gonna have to go for a Brant anchor here. Oh, man, we missed one. We missed one. We missed one. Oh, dearie me. Oh, that's terrible. But our score, I'm not gonna lie, guys, our score is still looking really good. I'm really feeling that additional... I'm feeling that additional damage immensely. And I do think we're gonna reach a pretty good score with this. It is feeling like it's strong. Okay, that's... And you can kind of see, I had so many sort of like, you could consider them like misplays across that clear. And we're still able to get a pretty decent score of about 32-8-0. And so it does feel like the overall difficulty and stuff has definitely been toned down. The new tokens are a lot stronger. This clear, I was getting maybe like 2.6, 2.7, 2.8k points before the reset. And now, first try, I messed up a bunch of attacks. I missed a bunch of anchors. We got some delayed spawns as well. It worked out pretty well, gonna be real here. So I'm pretty happy with that. And now let's just try out our Jiyan team. Let's see how it does. And Mortifee's just kind of like going in, doing his stuff. And one thing that I am noticing, guys, is that these wolves can now be CC'd. The wolves, ladies and gentlemen, devs, listen. The wolves can now be CC'd. They were not able to before, and now they are literally getting crowd controlled. Devs actually fucking listened. Holy shit. That was like one of the biggest parts of like the last update that made Whimpering Wastes in so many ways feel so unplayable for so many people. Was that the wolves would just like kind of completely mess up every single rotation you had. And now, boy, oh boy. I mean, I'm hitting like 28k. I do think that the token is actually working. I do feel like that token that deals damage in midair, it is actually working. I'm not sure if there's been too much stuff in regards to the enemy AI, but what I'm viewing is that, like, I'm able to deal so much damage that they're not able to do anything crazy. Like, as you can see, right, these okay, yeah, this guy's kind of like in the corner over here. Unfortunate. Okay, that kind of like, that was a little bit annoying. But as you can see, right, the points are kind of flowing. Maybe they increase the point rewards as well for each enemy wave that you destroy. Because, I mean, this is going to be like an easy... This is going to be pretty easy as a gold, right? Like, yeah, maybe they increase the number of points that people were getting as well. Because I'm kind of just farming right now. I'm kind of just farming right now. And these enemies, of course, right? They're dying a lot faster. Yeah, so we get 2.9k on this other side. It looks like all of the adjustments compiled together, the changes to the AI, I'm surprised they didn't mention them. The end result is that I'm making mistakes. This is literally my first time, literally not pre-watched. We didn't practice it at all. This is the first clear after the patch, and we are at the maximum number of points. We're at 6.26k, and I can easily optimize those rotations more, play a bit more sweaty, reset when like my anchor only hits one enemy on Brant, and I could easily get, I think, like 7k points here if I'm sweating a bit more. You can clearly see what the difference is over here. I just used the new token on both sides, and it was absolutely 1,000,000% cooking. I wouldn't say it's super easy. You still might have some challenge, but my characters are giga built. I know all my team's rotations, you know, like the back of my hand, and I was able to get great results out of it on my end. Maybe there might be players who might be struggling a bit more, but at least it's attainable. It's achievable as long as they grind versus the absolute RNG fiesta of dog shit that it was the prior patch. Devs did listen. The only things I would recommend right now are just like adjusting the AI on some of the enemies like the Vitrium Dancers and the Chop Chops. But aside from that, it's looking it's just looking good. It is looking pretty good. I don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to have big complaints about this one. It seems pretty solid, pretty fair, and pretty good overall. I'm very happy with it. And I think that Whimpering Wastes after this is in a better spot, but I'm still telling you, change that environmental report up a little bit, right? Just change it back to 50% on any type of damage taken. And I do think that it just becomes a lot more well-rounded, especially for people, right, who don't have like double crit on every echo, who don't have like incredible, absurd investment. Because, I mean, it should be, I do feel like it's kind of like at the point where if you don't have turbo invested echoes, you might as well just like not even have this buff, or you have it only like 50-60% of the time. And that can be really rough, especially for accounts, right, that haven't gotten as lucky on their echo rolls. But that's gonna be that. I think, yes, they did fix the game mode. We still have 17 days left on it as well, and so that's gonna be plenty of time, right, for I think anybody at this point, right? 17 whole days to retackle the game mode, get all those rewards, because as we all know, Whimpering Wastes has got a lot of good stuff in here, a lot of good stuff, and with all those tokens being buffed, I don't think that there's any excuse for not being able to clear if you're willing to put in the time. So with that, Kuro listened. Very good. Very awesome. I like that I got 6.2k on the first try. And who knows, maybe we'll try to get a little bit higher in the future. But with that, let me know what you all thought. Peace.